regardless of who anyone is or what anyone has accomplished up to this point. And we're talking super successful people that from the outside appear to have everything squared away, an amazing life. They also have what's called the human condition, meaning, at least from my perspective, they're either in a serious situation with their health, their relationships, or their finances in their personal inner circle, or they're just coming out of a serious circumstance in their health, relationships, or finances, or there's a serious health, relationship, and finance situation right around the corner. This isn't a negative Nelly type of stance. This is just the human condition. As long as we're above ground, there's going to be chaos. Chaos is built into the energies. The seven energies, the eighth energy is chaos. It's infused into all the other seven energies. So while we're alive, we can expect chaos. My name is Tom Beal, and this is the view that I see when I wake up every day here in St. Thomas, United States Virgin Islands. This is actually my sister's property, and I'm here by God's hand wanting me here. You see, I recently ended a 12-year relationship with a fantastic, amazing woman. We had an incredible 12 years. We kind of went out like Michael Jordan on the top. It was amazing until it wasn't. And so I didn't tell any of my friends, personally or professionally, that we were having those discussions from earlier in the year. Actually started in December of 2022. And then in January, all the way up until May, when we decided to part ways, we were contemplating, should we stay together or do we separate? There was no major situation that led to it other than us simply growing apart. I'll talk about that more on a later date. But the important thing to recognize is we as humans, no matter who you are, have the human condition. We're either in some serious chaos right now, we're just coming out of serious chaos, or there's some serious chaos around the corner. And some people will say, well, that's not true, Tom. And, you know, I lived in South Florida for almost 13 years, and now I'm living in St. Thomas, and we have endless summers. Well, in the seas that you see behind in this picture, there's also amazing yachts. In Yacht Haven, just a couple of days ago when I was down there, Jeff Bezos's amazing sailing yacht was there, worth $500 million, as well as David Geffen, I believe, the musician, his $400 million yacht was there. Those yachts are there, but guess what? How many billionaires are no longer here who had the $500 million yachts or had all that they seemed to ever desire? And they're no longer here. Steve Jobs come to mind, right? So he had his life and his life came to an end. The question I will pose to you is this: if Steve Jobs could rent your vehicle being your body, like I'm touching my body right now. This is my vehicle, was born September 22nd, 1972. This is my unique make model, multi-billion, if not multi-trillion dollar vehicle. Self-healing, waterproof, you know, you name it. It is the most coveted vehicle in the universe. Or, you know, play along with me and use your imagination and let's think that to be true. So, you know, you can go rent a nice car. You can go rent a nice plane. You can go rent a nice yacht. It can cost some money. But if Steve Jobs could rent your vehicle, as long as you can fog a mirror, and if you're watching this video, he would definitely want to rent your vehicle. Doesn't matter what the make, model, size is. If he could rent your vehicle for one day, how much would he rent that vehicle for? The answer is all. All. He died with roughly $60 billion. So we can go rent yachts for a week for 125,000 plus expenses, $250,000 plus expenses for a week of a nice, very nice yacht. We can go rent planes. But if a billionaire could rent your vehicle, your billion-dollar, your trillion-dollar vehicle, it would be all. Now, obviously, and then if that became protocol, then supply and demand kicks in, it would drop on a regular basis as it would be able to happen, but you get the drift. So the question is, if you treat your car right, if you treat your home right, if you treat your amazing other vehicles right, when now would be a good time to start treating your multi-billion or trillion-dollar vehicle right? Are you giving it the proper care and maintenance? Because you are the owner, the operator, the writer, the director, the starring actor in your role in this movie that we call life. How well are you taken care of as the owner and operator of your body? Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Are you investing time to be that proper caretaker, getting the proper sleep, putting the proper amount of water and good nutrients in your body, getting the proper exercise, cleaning it, maintaining it? You get the drift, right? So, little hint before we get into the training, start looking in the mirror. And doesn't matter what your starting point is, make a commitment to say, now is the time for me to step up as the owner and operator of my vehicle. I am Tom Beal. I am. You are your name. I have my unique make model, and you have your unique make model. There's no right, wrong. Your starting point is your starting point. I would encourage you to make a commitment to yourself as that owner and operator of your trillion-dollar vehicle to start now taking it seriously. Start researching how to be the proper caretaker for your amazing vehicle. And real quickly, you can transfer, as we'll see here in a second, from being way out of shape and a poor caretaker to being in tremendous shape in very short amount of time. So that's a little pre-lesson before we get into today's lesson. Let me jump into what we have here. So basically, I'm going to give you some insights that, as this new pamphlet that I created a short while ago states, 3 steps to living fully and unapologetically. I've got a few clients on there that will be discussing some of the results that they've attained and the lessons that can help you get from where you are to where you want to be. First of all, I want to share a brief story of my grandpa, Papa. So my mom was 17, my dad was 19 when I was born. I was born to teenagers, and I found out later that there was a lot of talk about my grandpa, grandma on both sides, my mom and dad's sides, both talking with my mom and dad about, should you even have this baby? You're just teenagers yourselves. And somehow, some way, they persevered and had me. And so I had my teenage parents, but I also had my grandparents on both sides as well, that were kind of like extension of parents. Like, they were only 17 and 19 years older than the children having me. So, they weren't that much older. So 20 plus 17, 37, like late 30s, early 40s when I was born. And in today's day and age, it's not uncommon to have someone in their late 30s, early 40s have children. So my grandparents were very young and kind of embraced me as a baby. And it was a team effort to help me on that journey. And just to give the full scoop on that, so being born to teenagers, I was raised around 4 divorces and 6 marriages between my 2 parents. So they both married and divorced each other twice. Married, divorced, and then they each married and divorced someone else, and then they each married again, all within my childhood. So that's where the 4 divorces and 6 marriages comes in. And as you may gather, around all that teenage parent stuff, there was a lot of drama, a lot of chaos, a lot of lessons that I wouldn't wish on anybody. But one of the main lessons my grandpa taught me, who I call Papa. Papa was a hardwood floorman, and he also, at the end of his life, was a great home builder. But he taught me, always leave places better than when we arrived, to include cleaning up messes that were already there. So one of the brief stories was, I was 8 to 9 years old working with him on some jobs. And he's like, hey, Tom, go in that room and sweep it up, clean it up. I said, but Papa, we weren't even in that room. We didn't make that mess. And that's when he kneeled down and got on one knee and said, Tom, it's my belief is I always leave places better than when I got here. So even though we didn't make that mess, they didn't clean it up, but I'm not going to leave that mess for the next person. So go in there, clean it up, take pride in it. And that's exactly what I did. And that was a very powerful lesson. So always leave places better than when you arrived, even if you didn't make the mess that you're cleaning up. This little brief meet the author talks about my near-death experience, the NDE. It was on September 11th, 1998. I was walking towards the bright white light, said, "Stop. This isn't how it's supposed to end. I know you had more for me to accomplish. Send me back." That was after seeing my life flash in front of my eyes. That was after seeing my sisters, who were 10 and 12 years younger than me at the time. I was 25, about to be 26 in 11 days. And as you can see, it was on September 11th, 3 years prior to the September 11th, that we all know and recognize as the day that changed everything. So this year, 3 years prior, that was the day that changed everything for me. And I saw my sisters crying at my funeral, and it had great pain. And someone came up, put their arm around me, all the pain disappeared, and we turned 180 degrees. Now we're facing those big, huge white doors, and we start walking towards the white doors. And that's when I said, "Stop. This isn't how it's supposed to end. I know you had more for me to accomplish. Send me back." I woke up after being helicopter lifted from that field in Geneva, a single car accident, rolled 4 times, ejected from the sunroof, and woke up in intensive care with a respirator breathing for me. All I remember is it really sucks to be awake with a respirator breathing for you. It's very painful. And I had severe head trauma and nerve damage in my leg. The doctors and nurses, not that they were trying to dissuade me, but they were just telling me and my family what the reality was. They said, "Tom, you may never walk or talk properly again." I just shook my head no. And a very short while thereafter, I signed an early release stack of papers to leave, because I never wanted to believe that I may never walk or talk properly again. I didn't see that version of me for 1 second. Fast forward, my leg had drop foot. And if you've ever seen anyone with drop foot, it's where the leg drags. And so it dragged for a couple of years. And obviously with a leg dragging, the questions usually arise, what happened? And so I talked to my leg and started smacking it and talking to it and said, "Hey, look, I apologize for putting you through what I put you through, but you're still attached. Do whatever needs to be done inside this leg to correct it so that it doesn't drag anymore, so I don't have to tell that story, so I can move on." And long story short, about a year and a half, 2 years later, no one can really tell that my leg had drop foot. Although my sister, whose property I'm renting this cottage on here in St. Thomas, is a physical therapist. And a physical therapist, she can see my foot kicks out a little bit, but unless you were a specialist, you wouldn't know that I had drop foot and have any type of nerve damage in my leg. And I since went on to participate in wrestling and won a lot of tournaments after that crash. Now, that's some of the beginning there. And then as far as the clients that I work with, here's a few of their feedbacks. One at the top there is my good friend and client, Troy Broussard. And Troy and I met years ago, and most of my clients come to me wanting more results, right? That's what I specialize in. I help people monetize and profit at higher levels. But I also teach, I give them what they want. I sell them what they want and give them what they need. So the irony is, it's almost like that success quote from Jim Rohn. Success is something you attract by the person you become. So when you become a more successful person in your health, in your relationships, and in your financial actions and moves, it all works. You can have everything. So in sharing some of my strategies and philosophies, not only did I help Troy make some new relationships that produce hundreds of thousands of dollars, but also inspired him to take ownership of him being the owner and operator of his trillion-dollar vehicle and make some small moves that led to him losing roughly 70 pounds and having more energy, having more vitality, adding years to his life for his family. It's this premise that whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Do you deserve to have it all? I would have you say, yes, I can have it all. I deserve to have it all. I can put the proper, simple steps in action for my health, for my key relationships, and for my financial situation. So I can take the fat body and turn it into a skinny body, and I can take the lean bank account and turn it into a fat bank account, and the low energy, the low on empty relationships and fill them up. with joy. So breathe the life back into these highly successful entrepreneurs' lives. And then Sarah, below there, Sarah is a mother of 7 children, and she is a highly successful marketer. And when we began working, she said, I'm wanting to transition from multiple hundreds of thousands to millions. And I said, well, I wish I had a magic switch that I could automatically guarantee that, but the reality is I don't. But I do have some strategies, I do have some philosophies that we can discuss. And lo and behold, by reframing her mindset, by having conversations of reprogramming what was possible, there came an opportunity that wasn't available prior to us talking, that came this opportunity that did, in fact, bring her from 6 to 7 figures. It was amazing and incredible. And the most beneficial and rewarding thing for me was that reframing of her mind, where when she was with her kids prior to that, she was thinking, as I misthought back when I was in workaholic mode, that if I wasn't doing a revenue producing activity, I was neglecting what was the best use of my time. So when I'm playing with my kids, I was beating myself up thinking that the answer, and the only answer that was acceptable to what's the best use of my time, is a revenue producing activity. False. That was a false belief. So I had that belief, as do many entrepreneurs that get sucked into that workaholic mode. So I reframed that with Sarah and other clients, that you built the business to give you freedom, correct? Well, that freedom doesn't mean being shackled to the business. That freedom means putting the proper teams, systems, processes in place to give you the freedom to do what you want, when you want, with whom you want, to include spending time with your kids. So the business is not meant to shackle you. The business is meant to free you when done properly. So that was the most fulfilling transition. Yes, it was amazing to watch her go from multiple 6 figures to 7 figures, but also hearing her voice and the happiness of how I now can be fully present with my kids and enjoy it, knowing that I have the proper team, systems, processes in place for my business, where it doesn't need me babysitting it all the time. So the next amazing friend there is Ron Douglas. So Ron and I, our paths crossed way back in the day, 06 or early 06, maybe even 05. But way back when I was having a conversation with Ron, and it was a conversation with a whole bunch of internet marketers, and Ron had this cookbook and shared with me what it was. And I said, man, there's a lot of great suggestions going on, Ron. I said, but I see this as being something that I would see on TV, like on the Today Show, like on QVC, like I see a media play. Like all the internet marketing strategies are great, but man, this is something that every household would raise their hand and say, yeah, I want that. So I would have you consider like looking into, how could I get on TV? How could I get on the talk shows, on the QVCs and the home shopping networks, things of that nature? And so I just planted that simple seed in a brief conversation. But that was the first time he had even considered that. He'd even heard that. So think about it. We don't know what we don't know. So when I'm talking with friends, clients, prospects, I always insert myself into their situation. If I was in their situation, what would I do? And in that particular case, I planted that seed like, man, Ron, if I was in your shoes, that's where I would start exploring. Well, Ron took it and ran with it. And he has a sizzle reel of all the TV shows and the radio talk shows and the home shopping network and the QVCs, all the amazing screen time he got led to him becoming a multiple New York Times bestselling author and selling a level of books that very few people ever sell. Roughly almost 2 million books, 1.8 million books, right? And the dude is brilliant. He came from Wall Street. He also had financial literacy before he had some success. So he built up a tremendously successful empire from a small little seed that I planted that he took massive action on and reaped huge rewards. So that brief conversation that we had changed my and my family's life. Ron Douglas, amazing, amazing individual and friend. And Igor at the bottom, Igor Kafitz. Igor once again came to me for improving his financial results and saw that there's much more that is waiting for him. So he has blossomed as an entrepreneur, blossomed as a husband and father. And he said that, Tom, you'll help me skyrocket my business results, grow as a man, and choose to move my family to another country. And that was a whole another process of like, is this country serving me? Like, is it going to be the best foundation for me and my family in the future, or would it hold me back? And going through the pros and cons of staying versus leaving. And that was an amazing process to go through. So super proud of Igor and what he's been able to accomplish. And as you heard my little story of my near-death experience, I came up with 3 steps for this particular book. I have another one coming up about Operation Monetize. And but in these 3 steps, it is NDE. So NDE, near-death experience, I came up with navigate, discern, and explore. These 3 simple steps will help get you from where you are to where you want to go quickly and easily. And we'll jump into those 3 steps real quickly here. So the first step is navigate. Like, look, we all have a cell phone with GPS on it, right? Whether you use Apple Maps, Google Maps, or any of the other GPS services and or the ones in your cars, you need to know 2 things. Where am I and where am I wanting to go? Correct? If you don't have that, you can't navigate properly. So you need to get clear on where are you in your health, your relationships, and your finances, and where are you seeking to go? Now, similarly to how most people make the mistake of saying success equals money, money is only one of the 3 elements from my perspective. It is the health, the relationships, and the finances. That's success. And you need all 3 to be progressively moving forward to be successful. Because if you have huge amounts of money and your health sucks, that's not a victory. That sucks. Like, life hurts. And similarly, if you have lots of money and great relationships, or I'm sorry, lots of money and great health, but crappy relationships with your spouse, with your children, with your business partners, that sucks too. It's painful. Life is a co-creation. So just like success isn't just money, it's the combination of your health, your relationships, and your finances. Your health isn't just the reflection in the mirror. There's a triangle below that as well. It's your mental, your physical, your emotional/spiritual health. All of those lead to you being healthy, because once again, we have lots of friends that may be physically, Adonis or, amazingly beautiful woman, but either mentally or emotionally, they're not doing so well, right? So that's not a win either. You need mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually a solid foundation, and that's the foundation for success. And then the next step is your relationships, your key relationships. Who are your people personally, professionally, socially? You need to identify those people. And the reality is all people aren't equal. You can't give equal amount of time to everybody. You have to know who your people are and invest your time. You're either investing into that relationship or withdrawing from that relationship. And love equals time. If you're not giving and investing love into those relationships, they're not feeling it. And it's going to hinder those key relationships. And then finances. It has another triangle there. It's your today money, your overhead, your expenses, your tomorrow money, your larger projects, and your contribution. How and where are you making a difference with your resources of time, energy, and funds? So we'll circle back to that in a little bit. But first step is gaining clarity. And lack of clarity is the root of all failure. When you know this quiver of clarity, you can look how you've probably done it in the past unconsciously, but now you can insert it consciously into your future to improve your health, to improve your key relationships, to improve your financial situation. I was able to host with one other mentor on the island of Tenerife 2 sessions of a week each. The island of Tenerife outside of Spain. We had one that was a 25,000 euro investment that led to a year-long continuing coaching program. And then the following year, we did a 15,000 euro investment, which was only for the week, and there was no tail at the end of it. So there were 12 paid attendees per Tenerife event. Unanimously, For both times, the 25,000 euro and the 15,000 euro, they said after this quiver of clarity training, this was worth their investment. So let that settle in. These are already highly successful entrepreneurs. They said after this one training, this was worth the week. This was worth their investment. This is my free gift to you. In the beginning of the book, I had it showing that it's a $997 gift. This is truly a 25,000 euro and 15,000 euro gift. So when you learn this, it can take you quickly and easily and effortlessly from where you are to where you want to be. So there it is at quiverofclarity.com. I highly recommend you do it. We won't get into all the details. It goes into more depth at Quiver of Clarity. But that at the top right is a picture of me in a transformation that occurred in 2010. On the left was the January 2010 Marketers Cruise, and then 60 days later, that's the version of me, from 196 pounds to 168 pounds by following these 4 simple questions. That was my grandma. She was a dance instructor for over 50 years in Victor, New York. She was incredible and amazing. She's no longer here. And my mother at the bottom is no longer here as well. And I'm putting this in, you'll see at the back, this is kind of a tribute and to remind us all that you're not dead yet, to add some urgency to this game and joyous creation, co-creation that we call life. Add some urgency. This is one day less that we have in our bank of days. The rub is we don't know when we're escorted out of here. So the key is to add some urgency, add some clarity, and watch how you can get from where you are to where you want to be. Next, discern. The power is in your continual present moment and choices to make today great. So are you continually discerning the answer to what is mine to do now? That's it. Like, what's mine to do now? And the analogy I give related to this is, what if life is like the greatest amusement park in the universe? Let's use the amusement park analogy for us humans. When we take ourselves and our friends and family to the amusement park, are we sitting around complaining about the news? Are we sitting around wasting time looking at our phone? Or are we squeezing every ounce of joy out of our trip to the amusement park? You get, that's the latter, right? We're not sitting around idly. We're moving with purpose because we know our time is limited. Whether it's a day, 3 days, or a week, it's over like that. So while we're there, we're going to maximize it. And we're continually asking, what next? What next? What next? What's mine to do now? So me and my family, when I go there, depending, we get there as early as possible, sometimes before the gate even opens. And we're already like, okay, which ride we going to first? And we walk with purpose to that ride. And afterwards, okay, now what ride? Are we going to ride this again? Or are we going to go to a different ride? And over and over and over again. So what if life is similar to the greatest amusement park in the universe, just like the amusement park analogies we just talked about? It's true because it is over like this. I'm sure you have friends and family that are no longer here. And we have a term that some people died too young. After my near-death experience, I'm of the belief no one can die a second early or a second late. They die exactly just as life unfolds exactly. You watching this video is an exact moment. All my life led up to this, creating this video, and all your life led up to watching this. It all unfolds perfectly. So what is mine to do now? When you continually discern that and you break away from workaholism and you have that misinterpretation that I had for years when I was caught in the workaholic rat race, that I thought the only answer to what's the best use of my time right now had to be a revenue producing activity. That's not the case, because we got our health, our relationships, and our finances. And none of them are all going to be spinning perfectly, but they all can be progressing one step, one day at a time. So what's your starting point and what's your end point? Success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal or an ideal. So that's a quote from Earl Nightingale, and it's a pretty good one. So as long as you're progressively taking steps to improve your health, your success in your health. As long as you're progressively taking steps to improve your relationships are successful. As long as you're progressively taking steps to improve your financial situation, you are a success in your finances. And cumulatively, all those things allow you to have that peace and harmony and joy and love. amidst all the chaos because you're focused, you're clear on what's yours to do. What's yours to do? And let's also talk about a book real quickly. How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie. So let's talk about worry. Like, because if you're worried, you're not in a grounded place to properly answer what's mine to do now. You need to become grounded first. And as I say that, you don't need to do jack squat. It's up to you to choose what to do and what not to do. But I would have you consider becoming grounded first before answering this question. If you're caught up in fear or anxiety or worry, you're not going to be grounded enough to have the proper answer of what's mine to do now. So the first thing is to get grounded. For me to get grounded, if I find myself not feeling grounded, it's to go for a brief walk. It's to do a little bit of workout, get the heart going, get the emotions. Motion leads to emotion. So get some movement going and watch how that positively impacts your emotions. Then get grounded and then say, okay, with all the things, my health, relationships, and finances, all the different hats that I wear in my life, what's mine to do now? And sometimes that's to record this video. Sometimes that's to do some journaling. Sometimes that's to shut down the laptop and go spend time with my spouse. Sometimes that's shut down the laptop and go spend time with my children. You get the picture. It's up to you to discern. And when I say discern, God speaks to me through my heart. This is where I communicate with God, my heart. This is where discernment comes from. This is where love and discernment is, in my heart. And so I trust my heart. I trust my discernment. And sometimes that overrides the mind. Well, that doesn't make sense. No, I should be doing this. I should blah, blah, blah. Trust your heart. What's mine to do? And you get good, just like working out with your muscles. You'll get good at discerning what's yours to do. And then do it. And then ask again, what's mine to do now? Just like the music park. Okay, now we're going to go ride this ride. Great. You walk there. Oh, sorry, folks, ride's closed. Well, you could sit down and cry or wait, or you could say, hey, do we want to wait here or do we want to go to another ride and come back later and see if it's open? And usually the latter works best. Sometimes it makes sense to stick around, but you never know. So it's up to you to continually trust and discern one after the next. What's next? What's next? What's next? Treat your life like it's the greatest amusement park in the universe, because trust me, I'm going on a cruise. I was a co-founder of the Marketers Cruise back in January 2007 with Mike Vilsain, Donna Fox, Pauly Sable, and Captain Lou Edwards. And we started with 40 some people. Now it's over 400 every year that meet. And we have a cruise coming up. One of the first things I talk about when we get on the cruise ship is, before you know it, we just got our luggage, we unpacked. Before you know it, we'll be packing up the night before the last night. It's over before you know it. So the key is to squeeze out all the joy, all the juice, all the conversations that you can, and to trust that it's going to unfold perfectly. Same thing in this life. Life's over like that. I'm 51 years old as I record this. Holy crap. The years and the decades are flying by. So add some urgency. Recognize that you will want to step up your game. You will want to improve your health, because with health, you can have hundreds of goals. Without health, you got one goal: to be healthy, period. I don't know who came up with that quote, but it's spot on. We all have been there and we all will be there. So the key is to put that health as a high priority. Put your key relationships as a high priority, and put your finances as a priority as well. But all of them have to work. 2 out of 3 sucks. All right, so there we go. Continually discern what's mine to do now. And then go into that, the strangest secret in the world. We become what we think about most of the time. Train your mind to focus on and think about only what you want. Get clear about what you want. All right, so there you have that. My Make Today Great podcast is there. And then explore living your dream life in optimal health, relationships, and finances. You deserve and you can have it all. As I just said, 2 out of 3 sucks. And you get to this point where I've termed I am me, F you, that philosophy. And it's as it sounds. I'm me, take it or leave it. I am me, F you, fully and unapologetically. That's my way of reaching that self-actualized level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I am me, F you. You recognize that no matter what you do or don't do, some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. So what? Someone's waiting. The key is to be that self-actualized version of you that does embrace the I am me fully and unapologetically. Be you fully and unapologetically. And know that no matter what you do or don't do, some are going to love it, some aren't. That's just how life unfolds. Haters are going to hate. Fans, raving fans are going to be raving fans. And there's 10% there, 10% there, and 80% in between. People are going to be what they're going to be. Be you fully and unapologetically. That's the life of a self-actualized person who is taking the steps, discerning properly to improve your health, improve your key relationships, and improve your finances. And you're going full force. You're not wasting time. You're investing your time into the video right here. Like, this proves to me that you are someone who is on the path to improve their health, relationships, and finances. So well done. And then explore. Knowing what you now know, what advice would you give to yourself 10 or 20 years ago? Have that conversation in your mind now. So that's a picture of me and my father, who's also not here. So to rewind, my mother passed away in 2007 at 52 years old. My father passed away in 2009 at 56 years old, in December 2009. So that picture was 2009-ish. So what conversation would I have with myself at that point? If knowing what I now know, going back to that version of me, and consult that version. Then you take a step forward. In my belief, there's a version from dead and gone to multi-billionaire waiting for us. And I would have that best version of you, 10 or 20 years, the version that's in the optimal health, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, the optimal key relationships in their personal, professional, and social relationships, and the optimal financial situation with their today money, tomorrow money, and contribution. That best version that you can identify, like, that's the one. Have that one come back and talk to you right now. What lessons would that version of you tell yourself? Those are two of the most important conversations that you will ever have in your life. You will ease yourself of any anxiety or worry of that past version of yourself. And think about it. Wasn't there a time in your past where it's like, you know what? Stand up, dust yourself off, and let's get back at it. Enough pity, enough worry, enough all this. It's time to get moving. What if this conversation that you're having with that past version of yourself is the moment that gets you that epiphany? And similarly, what if that best, amazing version of you comes back and inspires you? One time it came back and was the Marine version of me. I was in the United States Marine Corps, and it was an older Marine. He's like, you better get your shit together. You're not going to get here on this path. You don't get your shit together, you're going to be a much lower path. And I got my shit together. And now the future version of me is like, hey, you're on the right path. Do more of what you're doing, trust, and continually take steps. Trust your discernment, continually explore, and continually follow what's placed on your heart for you to do. I want to hear what your advice would be to yourself 10 or 20 years ago. And I want to hear what that best version of yourself 10 or 20 years in the future comes back and tells you. All right. And now, my kids, may I introduce my family and the system that put us in a position where we each live our lives fully and unapologetically. I'm just super proud of my kids. Through the chaos of my own life, I made a decision as an 8-year-old to never get divorced because I grew up around all that divorce as a child. And long story short, my vision with their mother was not how the reality unfolded, and we ended up divorced. And I lived in right around the corner from them for a while, but it was so painful because they lived walking distance and I was rarely ever able to see them. It was the most painful thing ever. So 2011, early 2011, I ended up working with Rich Sheffrin and moving to South Florida. I moved to Boca Raton, Florida, and my kids stayed in Rochester, New York. And I moved with the understanding, and Rich agreed, that I would be going back to New York every other weekend to see my kids. So for numerous years, that was the case. Over 5 years, back and forth between Florida and New York to spend every other weekend with my kids. It was costly, it was an investment, but it was something I'm super proud of. They got to see two different ways of living, with their mother and with me. Same circumstance occurs. There could be chaos or there could be peace. And it was amazing. And I'm super proud of the individuals that they've grown up to be. My daughter graduated a year early out of high school and got accepted to Penn State, and she's at Penn State. She went to Penn State when she was supposed to be a senior in high school. And for the record, I was like, time out. I'm not getting 100% behind this. I don't feel a brand new 17-year-old wants to or needs to be at Penn State. I can understand how they want to be at Penn State, but not sure that's the best environment. But she is such a strong individual that it was an incredible freshman year and sophomore year that she's going into, that she's in right now, actually, and doing well. And my son wanted to be a police officer, but then saw all the interesting things unfold a few years ago and said, geez, it just looks like that whole career path doesn't entice me anymore. But he then transitioned to being a nurse. And so he's in nursing school and doing very well. So they both are following their dreams. Oh, and my son also is one of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's in the top 3 fan pages on Instagram. Steelers _nation _. Like, I forgot how many huge amounts of followers, 50 to 60,000 followers, something like that. And my daughter is a fitness instructor, fitness buff, not instructor. She tracks her fitness on her Instagram. But I'm super proud of both of them. And they do embrace the I am me, FU lifestyle. They do embrace the make today great philosophies. And they do believe. My last name is Beal. And we believe. Believe is more than belief. Belief is, yeah, maybe it can, maybe it can't. Belief is it's just a matter of time. I believe it will occur because I'm putting the proper steps in. I'm sowing the proper seeds and I will reap the proper results. So I'm super proud of my kids. They are amazing to me, and I couldn't be more proud of who they are, and they inspire their friends in manners that I do as well. So there it is. Those are the 3 steps to navigate, discern, and explore. My contact details are there at tombeal.com. And as I shared, this is all leading up to the reminder. And actually, if I go back, these mentors are also no longer here. I missed that. Yeah. So I spoke on stage with Bob Proctor from The Secret. I met Zig Ziglar, who was another hero of mine growing up, and also Jim Rohn. Those 3 mentors are no longer here as well. I forgot to focus on that, but that's another reminder of, even when you make a big impact in people's lives, we are human and we have a time to exit this greatest amusement park in the universe. So they're all gone. And my mission is to help me and my kids and you recognize that you are not dead yet. You're not dead yet. You're not living up to your potential yet. There are steps you can take to improve in your health, your relationships, and your finances. And that breathes life back into your existence. So are you finally ready to live up to your full potential? Are you finally ready to live your life fully and unapologetically? Are you ready to add some urgency to recognize you are not dead yet? So I would recommend, if you're in the US, type yes in a text and text that for US numbers only to 888-TOM-BEAL. Text yes to 888-TOM-BEAL if you're ready to step up and live your life fully and unapologetically. If you're outside the US, there's the phone number there. And or you can scan that QR code, and that'll bring you to my page where there's free resources to include this flip book. And I highly encourage that you treat this journey as if it's the greatest amusement park in the universe, and you'll be escorted out of here before you know it. You don't want to be escorted out and saying, I didn't ride that ride, or I didn't ride that ride. You want to be able to fist bump the people with you like, man, we made the most of this. That's exactly what me and my family does. No one could have had more fun than we did at this amusement park. We went for it. We followed our heart. We did what was ours to do. We led a life that was worthwhile. That's what I want to help you do. So reach out. I look forward to chatting with you soon. Until next time, make today great. Bye for now.